Hey, what's up? Today we're talking to a plumbing company that's 100 years old, actually a little bit older, and they're based out of Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. All right. Today we have Mr. Benjy Levine, and we have a lot of questions we're going to be asking them of how they make, uh, how they basically stayed open for so many years and remain as a multi-million dollar plumbing company. So if you're a plumbing business owner and you're watching this video, stick around to the very end. It's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes because we're going to be asking Mr. Benjy specific questions within operations and all kinds of different cool things to so he can educate us on how to maintain a multi-million dollar plumbing company that's now over 100 years old. So, Mr. Benjy, can you tell us a little bit about what was one of the things that actually, what year exactly did the business start, and
Yeah,
how long did it take to make its first million? You know, can we start there?
yeah. So we started in 1922. Started with my great uncle with my great grandfather. So I'm actually fourth generation in the company. To make the first million, I going back, I was speaking with my dad about this one, and he doesn't fully remember numbers and things like that, but probably somewhere in if I had to guess, somewhere around the 70s or 80s is when things really started to take off. When my dad and uncle took over operations of the company, and they changed a little bit the mentality of how we work together.
Okay. So like if it started in the 20s and then up into the 70s, like how many employees would you say it had at that point versus the 70s and the 80s when it took off?
Oh, when it first started, it was two employees. My great grandfather Isaac was actually a blacksmith by trade. He made the metal rims around wooden tires on cars.
Wow.
So apparently we might have upgraded since then, and he became a little bit obsolete in the car industry. And his son was a plumber working on a construction site, and they decided they were gonna start the company together. And what they used to do, I mean, everything back then, everything was repairable. There was no such thing as planned obsolescence, and there was no such thing as replace parts. Everything was fixing. So a radiator was burst. Um, in the winter, let's say they'd go uninstall it, bring it back to the shop using all the tools and equipment from Isaac the blacksmith. They repaired everything and then went and reinstalled it again. And that was really the genesis of the company. So started off with two people. Um, the beginning was really slow go, just from that point of view, but old school immigrant mentality. My great grandmother went door to door and said, "My son and husband are now plumbers. They're now your plumbers." As it's stay started within the community and expand from there. Um, Going into the 60s, 70s, 80s, into the 80s and early 90s, we grew, the company grew up to about 7, 8 trucks until the late 90s when my dad and uncle made a major acquisition. It was a company that was heavily involved in construction, and they saved from bankruptcy. And so they overnight doubled the trucks. And
Wow.
that really like the impetus to the expansion that we have today. And so that decision was pretty awesome. That was in 97. And a little bit of history of Montreal is about 6 months later, after everything got merged together, we had an ice storm up in Montreal. So it was the 98 ice storm, and all hands on deck. And to have an expanded team like that, we were really able to expand our reach, help more people out. And that's really the philosophy, is to help people take care of their homes and help people take care of their properties, not make a sale. So that's really the part that has brought from generations back is our mentality is not to make a sale or make sales. It's to build relationships and to help people using our expertise that they don't have.
I like it. I like it. That helping mentality will definitely take your a company very far. They do got to become a little bit of salesman-ish, because you can't not be a salesman and be a plumber. You know, you gotta have some salesman in you, but leading with helping is a big deal. I want to go back and talk a little bit about acquiring a business. This is something that I've been talking to a lot of plumbing business owners. I also have acquired a company myself. Early in February, I bought an artificial intelligence company, you know, and
Wow.
so I got into that in February of 2023. So that means in 1 month it'll be 1 year, you know.
Congratulations.
And so I work with a lot of AI, specifically for plumbing companies, you know. So if anybody needs that kind of stuff, you know, hit me up, go to strictlyplumbers.com. But anyways, I want to talk a little bit more about acquiring. Now, it did the same thing for my company. We acquired another company, and all of a sudden we had more manpower, with more capabilities, and the value of my company grew a lot, you know, and we were more organized, and it's like bringing in a champion to your you know, championship team, bringing in another champion, and it adds on to your team, and they do amazing things for you, you know. And so dealing with that ice storm is a big deal. Now, for plumbing companies, I see a lot of plumbing companies buying, selling, getting acquired, you know, and some guys haven't thought about that. Some guys are all about it, and some guys are considering it. There's actually a blog on my website, strictlyplumbers.com. If you click on marketing tips, you scroll through there, you'll run into a blog that talks about how to sell your plumbing company for millions of dollars. And typically, they give you about double what you make in earnings for the year. So it's what you make, right? So if you make $1 million, but you take home, I don't know, let's just say 50%, you know, it's pretty good money too, right? 50% earnings is pretty high. Anyways, just for round numbers, you'll take that number, not this number, and give you double, right? But anyways, there's ways you can acquire a company versus buying it out completely and you own a portion of it, you know, and that's a big deal. And so you can do that. That is actually a really fast way to grow a plumbing company. And I think that you are a very good example of that. And it happened in 97. So how much, so let's move on to the next question. I just love that topic. Wanted to touch base on
Just,
that real quick.
just if I may, it's when looking to acquire a company, there are so many things before numbers to take into account also. First, your own company needs to be ready to absorb. So you have to have your standard operating practice. You have to have your philosophy and culture strong throughout, because if you're bringing in even a small operation into let's say you have 10 trucks and you're bringing in a company that has 2 trucks on the road, you still need them to follow your lead. And that's super important, is that you have to be
Systems in place.
so specific and so aware of where you are as a company and where you need to be. So when they come in, they're becoming a member of your team, as opposed to whatever happens. And that's, if you're not solid within your operations and your culture, then it could easily go sideways. It could easily just be extra expenses and just getting busier and busier. And so that's really something to be careful of when you're bringing somebody in, is to make sure you're ready to merge them and marry them into your philosophies.
You know, that's such a good point. I think anybody listening to this right now that owns a plumbing company thinks this is an interesting topic. I'm going to piggyback on it a little bit more. You're right. And so when absorbing that, that's a big deal. And I think that breaking it down on a granular level is what you need, right? So some people say, well, where do you start, or what is it that you do, right? So what I had to do is I had to develop a bunch of SOPs and have them in place, and not new, but like already developed and refined and in flow, so that way they can adapt on to them. But when I was training all of the new people, it was me training by myself. And so if I was gone, who's going to train them to do it exactly how I want them to do it? And so that's where I struggled a bit. And when I brought in another manager to help me train, it was a game changer. And they took a lot of that off of my plate. And you really do need help. You can't go through a merger or something like that by yourself, trying to like do the actual contract in the process. Like you need help with that as well. And then like once the merge happens and the training process happens, you can't be the only trainer. You cannot be. No. And if you are, you're going to struggle a shit ton.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
And
know?
we've acquired since then, overall, we've probably acquired about 7 or 8 different companies over the years.
That's
And
that.
each each one of them has taught me something different. So what you're saying really resonates.
Yeah, I struggled with that. So it's something that I had to do.
Yeah.
There's 20 staff members in my company now, and we have different departments like website design and Facebook and Google and Yelp, things like that. So in every department you have the workers, and then you have the manager, and then you have a general manager, and then there's me. And in between the general manager and me, we have like our accounting manager, our tax person, all that good stuff. It can't be you either. Like at that level, you really need help with all those people in place as well. So sometimes you just need to raise your prices if you feel you can't afford them, or refine your business, see where you can save money. I feel like where can I make more and where can I save more are two things I like to implement. Not just how can I save money, it's how can I make more money. But I love this topic a lot because you mentioned you guys have acquired 7 or 8 companies over the years. It's now a 100-year company, 100-year-old. That's pretty tight. One thing I recommend if people are considering acquiring another company is make sure you have a company, or you're considering a company that's going to plug into yours. They may not need to be exactly like yours. It's actually a little better if they are something that can plug into your business to make you guys better. Like plumbing and a construction company. It's after you're done with fixing the plumbing, you can end up with a remodel. And so that's how instead of like more plumbing and more plumbing, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool, you're doing more plumbing, that's great, but somebody else is doing the rest of the work. And maybe you guys do remodels, but we're talking about a full-blown construction company. So if you guys go through a freeze, extreme weather, you have a full-blown construction company, not just plumbers doing remodels. Completely different story. So, and they help each other, right? Hey, let's get these parts, they help each other. So acquiring a company, acquire a company that could help. It's like putting a supercharger onto your awesome motor versus, hey, let's have 2 motors, and you'll see that it actually works pretty good. So you pivot a little bit. So you got to know that industry. I think one of the better things you can do is having a manager that's born out of that industry.
Yeah.
That helped me a ton when I did it that way. Anything else you want to add about acquiring businesses and what plumbers should consider or look out for?
So I love when you said a similar thought and a similar mentality. I always pick the owner's brain before we even start talking numbers. That's one. And the last thing is, especially in a service type industry, where we're a service plumbing company, and it's all about trust. We have no contracts. We have nothing signed. We don't have recurring revenue yet. But we don't have um any of that. So it's all about trust. And next week their top client could start calling somebody else and there's nothing holding them to it. So we're keeping that in mind on that side is we like the owner to come in for a little bit of time for a transfer of that trust, but also we structure the buyout, we structure it as an earnout. So we hit up a little bit of the well, we have all of the assets at the beginning, the tools, the trucks, the material, all of the physical stuff that we're buying. Plus, we add extra for goodwill at the beginning, and that's the lump sum we pay. And then we do it based on sales over a certain period of time. We've done it in a year period, we've done 3 years, we've done 5 years that we've structured an earnout. And the last one I structured, I even put in extra bonuses if the sales from that company hit more than was projected. If
Nice.
they hit in a range, then they got the dollars that we had discussed and negotiated. But if they don't hit their targets, then we're getting a discount. It's a little bit of a saving grace, so to speak, and a little bit of an insurance policy for us that the owner's not going to come in, put his feet up on a desk, and stop answering the phones with his briefcase of cash next to him. This way, he's motivated to grow the company, he's motivated to keep it up, and to transfer the trust on for that transition after. Just something that we put in.
That's awesome. So that's you from the perspective of acquiring a company.
Mhm.
But I'd like for you to touch base on the other end of the coin, right? What if
Yeah.
what if you are getting acquired?
Yeah.
Like what should you like what if you're a smaller company and you're looking at a bigger company and they're gonna acquire you? And what should you do to prepare for that?
So first is when you come in, make sure that the employees are treated well. Because one of your concerns, if you're a smaller company, you really care about your team. Actually,
Big time.
any company should care about your team. I don't care what size it is. So
Yeah,
I'll throw that out there right away. In terms of
I'm on
in
board.
terms of a smaller company or 2, 3 trucks, you want to make sure these guys who have helped you get to where you are now are well taken care of. So you want to talk to the employees. You want to, and outside, outside of the office, because it's one thing. So you want to have a little bit of interviews there. You want to make sure the way that they operate, you're elevating your game. You want to make sure that the clients that you've cultivated over the years aren't getting taken advantage of. And then because it's ultimately is your reputation to a degree, because you're the one matching cultures. So those are a couple of things that you want to look at in terms of then how you'll fit into the operations, if you'll fit in, if there's a short-term or long-term exit, or if I've been speaking with a few business owners these days who on that same realm, they're 4, 5, 6 trucks now, but the owner is burnt. He's been wearing all the hats. He doesn't have the support. The industry is getting harder and harder. As you're getting to a certain size, especially taxes in Quebec, liability insurance, even workers' compensation, all of these things are increasing expenses exponentially these days, and it's hard to keep up with pricing. Um, so people are getting burnt out and they don't want to have to worry about all of the business decisions, and they want to be able to, I don't want to use the word relax, but they want to be able to concentrate on why they got into it to begin with. So they want to add value. They want to really be able to help people. Coming into a company um, could be that opportunity that they were looking for without even realizing it. Sometimes there's a little bit of ego involved. I own a company. I am the owner. But ultimately, you have to put your ego aside and realize, what does success mean to you? What do you want for your life? What do you want for your family's life? And sometimes you being the owner isn't it. Sometimes having a peace of mind and not needing to worry about that last bank loan, or not needing to worry about the leak in the high-rise building and how you're going to pay for it, and not needing to worry about the guys who are hurting their backs, and where your concern is helping your clients, teaching your guys, and really being able to guide it. It's what do you really want and why did you get into it? That takes a little bit of higher level self-reflection and awareness that some people who have been owners for decades might have trouble backing up.
Yeah, it's really good content, good stuff, bro. I appreciate all the information. That's what is one of the best practices that allowed you to make, to add $1 million, because I know it's a multi-million dollar plumbing company. So let's say you want to, add another $1 million. And then so beyond treating your customers good, can you give us like some golden nuggets, some meat and potatoes, about like operations and things that other plumbing business owners would want to know?
So a few things. One, I'll get into a little bit of marketing in a bit, but let's from an operations point of view, because I can tell you the marketing adding $1 million really is in line with that. But operationally speaking, we kind of hit a wall a couple of years ago because we were doing everything with paper and everything was internal, and we had no standard operating practice, and there was no organogram, and there was no process and procedures in place, and there were not a structured list of job descriptions and KPIs. And these are all things that need to get put in for effectiveness and efficiency. And also, when you're thinking about KPIs, the quote is what gets measured gets improved on, really holds true. But it also guides the people within your company as to where you want them to concentrate. It's as opposed to if you don't have it and it's just their service manager, their project manager, it's whatever comes in, they'll take care of, whatever they have time for, whatever they don't, they'll push off. And if you don't have it, then people are going to be either working twice or talking twice. And we found that we had, if let's say a call comes in and it's a specialized kind of call and our service department doesn't know exactly what to answer, now they're going to start talking to one person and then they'll talk to another about it and somebody else and somebody. But if it's clear and structured, there's so much time savings involved, and that allows people to focus and move on. So from an entrepreneur, from a business owner, from the plumber point of view, know what you're good at, know what brings value to your company, know what you like to do, and support yourself with other people for everything else. Know what your weaknesses are, because self-awareness is such a hard thing to do for entrepreneurs, for tradespeople, to know what you're good at and what you're where you need support. I'm not even going to call it a weakness, but where you need support. Doesn't mean you don't need to know about accounting, doesn't mean you don't need to know about bookkeeping, but it also doesn't mean you need to be the one to enter every GL entry. So it's know where you bring the value to the company, know what you like to do, and know what you're good at. Focus on those. Bring people in who are smarter and better than you at everything else.
That's
That's
so good. I love it. And I bet you can't stand when you hear a business owner say you just can't, if you can't find, what's that old saying? If you can't find somebody to do it better, just as good, just do it yourself. And they claim that they
yeah,
can find people to do the work as good as them and all this crap. I call BS on that, bro. Big time. I think that they don't want to pay enough. I think that they don't have the systems in place, or maybe the capacity within their mindset or budget to make that happen. And really, that's the bigger problem versus I can't find somebody to do it as good as me.
There's also a entrepreneurial disease that it'll just take me 5 minutes and I'll do it better than everyone else.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes isn't really 5 minutes. There's no such thing as a 5 minute task.
Right.
And it's you're just going to burn through your energy, not just time, but it's your energy throughout the day. And yeah, it's almost like you're talking about the old generation where the company was able to grow with my dad as much as he was willing to work. And people had trouble making decisions because there was a lack of empowerment because my dad didn't let anyone make mistakes that went out to the clients. And that he put layers and layers of checks and balances in place, but it made things so heavy and so much red tape that people just felt that they didn't have to make a decision. Employees are really happy to not have to make a decision if you let them, but that starts shortchanging your company, starts shortchanging your business. If you're making every decision for everybody, then you have the wrong people and you have the wrong mindset for growth. But let's not take away from people who are happy with where they are. But if you want to grow, you can't be the decision maker for everybody.
Yep. I was told by my coach that if your team has to ask you what to do, it's not their fault. It's because you did not train them good enough yet. And
It's
so,
everything that happens in the company um, is because I didn't train or I didn't put a process in place or I missed something or if people don't know which direction to go, then I haven't properly communicated also.
yeah. Yeah. I think that the quality of the people that you hire has a lot to do with, how you feel when people say, I can't find somebody that will do it as good as me. So I have a recommendation for that. Whenever you are going through the hiring process, there's a couple of things that some people are missing. For example, number one is have a really good, like appealing, a very sexy job opportunity. Make it so damn good, but you got to set that standard high. That's the second part that I feel a lot of people miss. Like they'll craft up this really appealing job opportunity and they'll bring in all these people, right? But the filter is what really matters a lot. So instead of doing like 2 years of experience, bump it up to 5. Little things like that that'll bring in better quality people. Setting the standard high for people to even apply. That way you filter out all the riffraff, all the people that are not so responsible. Put questions in your applications that will X them out so they don't make it through. And so when you have that piece in place out of your whole hiring process, you're a whole different type of person comes in, and then it comes with money as well. Like they usually want more money. Now there's going to be some plumbers that demand more money, but they're not as qualified or disciplined or responsible. But trust me, those guys are out there, right? So my other recommendation is have a careers page on your website. And a lot of people have that, but then take a little step further and put a video on there, and take a step further and then put a video of one of the plumbers talking about working at your shop versus the owner and what it's like to work at your shop. When you do that and you have an employee or a plumber talking about how awesome it is to work at the shop on the application website page, you're going to get some people that's very attractive to plumbers. But you got to set the standard really high and very difficult to come on board with your company. And that's how you can squeeze out. And then a hiring bonus, that's spread out. There's a lot of different tricks that you can do to bring in good quality people. And then it's like, well, where do you post? Where do you find them? Right. So I have a website that you can go to. It's called www.plumberhiring.com. Write that down, visit it later, www.plumberhiring.com. And on there, you can find a platform that will help you promote your job opportunity on over 20 different platforms, including like things like Indeed and Facebook. Well, how about what are the best ones out of hundreds of them? What are the top 20? And let's condense our efforts into that. And then there's going to be like a top 5, and you condense more budget and efforts into those. And I think that Indeed works really good. I think that Facebook is probably one of the better ones, because you can tell a story on there and really target more plumbers that already working at other plumbing companies that maybe they're not happy and they're considering a better job. So the guys that are looking for a job aren't always the best ones, right? Because it's like, what happened? Did you get fired? Did you quit because you had an attitude and you don't like the rules? Like, why are you looking for the job again? Right? So anyways, enough of that, where you guys can hire some guys. What do you think about all that, Mr. Benny?
So
Benji?
for hiring especially, one of the biggest holdbacks that when I've been speaking to guys at other companies, and obviously we don't want the guys who have been let go from other companies because they can't crack it there. We bring in guys who, like you said, highest of standards. We provide a level of service beyond which our clients expect, and that takes a lot of brain power, which means we kind of need the best of the best. It's really hard for someone who feels that they are the top rung of the ladder at the company they're at, and even if they feel they're not being treated properly, and even if they feel that they're a big fish in a little pond and the company isn't challenging them with what they want, they're really nervous to leave this comfortable position they're in to a company that they don't know where they're starting on the ladder. Are they starting on the bottom? If they start on the bottom, you know what? That was when they were younger, they were really happy to fight for that, and they were happy to give up their holidays and Christmas holidays to be on service, to chip in, be part of the team, and that should really be from the younger guys who are coming up to prove themselves. So it's convincing these guys who have these doubts of, like, better the devil I know type mentality, that the grass really is greener, and not just because the septic tank is broken.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think this podcast has been very good. Great information. We usually talk a lot about marketing, but today we've been talking about acquiring and also hiring. We're going to wrap it up. It's been a really, really, really good podcast. So I appreciate you, Mr. Benjy Levine. LevineBros.ca is his website, in case you want to check him out. Over 100 years old. And thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. And again, if there's plumbing business owners that like this podcast, and you feel like you want to become a part of a group where you can have more conversations like this internally and expose some more trade secrets, there's a really killer group that you can join. It's called www.plumbingbusinesscoaching.com, and it's only strictly for plumbing business owners and nobody else. And it has to do with topics like this, not your typical everyday conversation, general information. We're talking about some granular golden nuggets, breakdowns. Go to www.plumbingbusinesscoaching.com. On there, you'll find a whole bunch of different topics. For example, how to sell your plumbing company for millions of dollars is actually the last module. How to sell your plumbing business. So let me do a quick screen share so you guys can see what it is that I'm talking about. If you go to plumbingbusinesscoaching.com, you will see this at the very top. There's a 1-minute video that you can watch. But if you scroll towards the bottom, let's just go all the way to the bottom, all the way down here. You'll see if you have questions, you can call us now. Okay. If you scroll up a little tiny bit past the examples of the people that we have helped make, add hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, I want you to come up to this area right over here. The one-on-one business coaching session included. So how to sell your plumbing business for millions of dollars, plumbing business mastery, how to grow and scale your plumbing company, KPI metrics for your plumbing company to stay profitable. There's all kinds of cool topics, more like what's the best company for 24/7 virtual receptionist or answering services? How about dispatch training mastery? What kind of bank should plumbers use to offer low monthly payment plans? Plumbing sales training mastery. How much should I pay the plumbers and the staff? What's the best plumbing business software? As you can see, there's a bunch of really cool topics. 5 pillars of growth for your plumbing business. If you go on there, check out the topics, sign up. It's built only for strictly for plumbing business owners. I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Stay safe, stay warm during this winter, and have a good one. Peace.